Andrew here, and I'm wondering, how are you doing? Seriously, I mean it. How are you doing? I have used this channel, these videos, to do a number of things, but one of them has been to document some of my difficulties, some of my problems. I've even thrown up the occasional, very occasional video about exercise. I have written extensively on my little blog, standupright.ca, about fitness and exercise and using that as the cornerstone of a healthy lifestyle. I think it's time that I start to merge that together with my videos on my mental health, because I have noticed that I've talked about do something useful. You know, if you're doing something useful, it's good for your mental health. Well, something that's useful is exercise. Your physical health, maintaining your physical health, that's useful. And in addition, hard exercise is a mood lifter. It releases endorphins. It actually makes you mentally healthier. So I think some of those things need to need further exploration. Let's put it that way. And one of the things that I have noticed is I track my heart rate, and I've noticed some funny things. I mentioned in a previous video that I got COVID, and on peak COVID day, and it wasn't a pleasant night's sleep. I had a sore throat that kept waking me up, and I had a bit of a fever, so I sweated through. You know, the sheets were a little damp. Not pleasant, not particularly bad, and certainly nothing that I haven't felt before, with the occasional stomach bug or whatever. But one thing that I noticed was my resting heart rate peaked at 78, 79, somewhere around there. Now, just for funsies, resting heart rate of 64. Yesterday it was 60. The day before it was 60. The day before it was 60. When I had my blood pressure taken, just about 2 years ago now, just a little over 2 years ago now, I had a bit of hypertension, systolic, I think it was. The bottom number was a little bit elevated, was a little bit high. Resting heart rate, 59. There's a interesting body of evidence that a lower resting heart rate is indicative of longevity. It's healthy to have a slow-moving heart. It does tend to raise your blood pressure a little bit, because it's got, you know, if you're beating 60 times a minute instead of 72, well, yeah, that's what, 20% fewer beats per minute, so it's got to work a little harder each beat to maintain the pressure. But the heart itself, the heart muscle doesn't really regenerate, as I've read lately. So you don't want to overstress it. You want to have a baseline lower number. Or so I've read. I have to do more research. So I have this low resting heart rate. But when I hit the peak day of infection, my heart rate had gone from 60 right past normal in the low 70s up to almost 80. And it was distressing. It felt like it was just pounding, pounding, pounding. I am very aware of my heart rate. I can feel it all the time. When I sit in the dark and the quiet, if my heart rate isn't in the low 60s, I know it. When I'm doing my yoga and I do 2 or 3 minutes of meditation before I do my yoga, I can pretty accurately guess what the resting rate is during that time, because I pay a great deal of attention to it. This is important to me, to have a low resting heart rate. It's indicative of fitness level. And one of the things that I noticed was when I get sick, that number goes up. If I've got a cold, the number bumps up into the high 60s or low 70s. And with COVID, which, as I understand it, the spike protein affects your heart. It cranked that bad boy up to 80. That's worrisome, a 33% increase. It came back down. All of which circles me back to my question, how are you doing? I have been making videos again. I'm lining up to begin writing again. I am taking a couple of days off from work just to work on these little things and enjoy myself and relax before the next fiscal year. I had to use up vacation time and the next fiscal year begins. But I'm doing well. And my question to you is, how are you doing? Are you doing well? I genuinely hope you are.